What's going on, everyone? So, when the Lakers signed Marcus Smart, big question became, okay, Gabe Vincent, right? What do they do with Gabe Vincent? Now, personally, I think that they should still trade Gabe Vincent, but that doesn't mean you go trade him just to trade him, just to say like, oh, we got off of him, right? No, I think it's something that needs to make sense. I think it's something that you can be patient on. And I do think that there is a possibility where they both can coexist. I mean, you're talking about two guys that can be that point of attack, defensive, versatile, kind of 3-and-D style guards. Right? The problem with Gabe Vincent and where he lacks and why Marcus Smart will be more impactful is the type of defense that the Lakers want to run. Right? They essentially want to switch everything. Gabe Vincent isn't very good at defending bigger players. Right? He's good. He can be that point of attack. He can defend guards, but when he gets switched on a 6'7", forward, kind of in some trouble, right? Now he's kind of on an island and he can't hold his own, where Marcus Smart, just bigger, got the longer wingspan, right? So he's a guy that can defend and he's really good. Like, there are some guys in this league that are just really good at defending bigger. Like, the wingspan helps for sure, but it's also having guys that, like Alex Cruz, he was getting stops against Jokic in the playoffs. There's just some guys that are really good, but the problem is Gabe Vincent's wingspan is his height, right? He's 6'3", his wingspan 6'3", where Marcus Smart, he's somebody that has that 6'8", 6'9" wingspan, so he can go and he can, his arms are long enough to be and disrupt these 6'7", 6'8" guys. Where Gabe Vincent, he's still, he's in this range rather than this range, right? Like, so it's a big difference. But, right, you look at this Lakers team, and what do they need? They need defense, they need three-point shooting, and to Gabe Vincent's credit last year, he really did start to come alive, really did start to come on his own as the season progressed. He started off, when he got back from injury though, started off pretty abysmal, right? He couldn't buy a bucket to save his life. He was like one of the worst offensive players on the team. He wasn't helping it big enough defensively. It was a mess. And it was just like, dude, get rid of it. Like, it's Kendrick Nunn 2.0 all over again. However, he did start to he had stretches where he was shooting like 40+% from 3-point range, ended up starting to kind of round out and average out, but he was good, right? He was a player that you're like, man, this guy could be a good rotation piece, good rotation player. He played 72 games last year for the Lakers. Best ability is availability, right? So that's really good too. A guy that, coming off of an injury and missed, that year, for him to come back and be able to play pretty much all season, I think was very important. So I don't hate having Gabe Vincent continue to be on the roster and continuing to be a part. If you can find that right move and you can find that right trade, then fine, so be it. But this will be really his first training camp, right? And first offseason with this team, with this roster. He's going to be able to play alongside Luka. There might be him getting back to being the guy that we wanted him to be. Right? Something that a lot of people aren't talking about is maybe Gabe Vincent just being better. He was like, we were all excited for Gabe Vincent when we signed him because of what he did in Miami. Literally being that kind of George Hill, the Mario Chalmers, the guy that usually has success alongside LeBron James. Can initiate the offense, get the ball to the superstar, and then play off ball, knock down threes, but also be aggressive and be that point of attack defensive guy. Right? Like, he's more consistent. Like I talked about, like with him and Dennis Schroeder. Like, Dennis Schroeder's upside is higher. When Dennis Schroeder's cooking, he's cooking. Right? But he can be very inconsistent too, right? I mean, we had him on the Lakers on several occasions, right? So it's like, you saw it. One game he's going and giving you 22, and he's 11 of 13, and then the next game he's like giving you 2 points and he's 1 of 11. It just was the inconsistency, and the 3-point shooting was all over the place. Where I talked about Gabe Vincent, the upside won't be as high. He'll have his random games here and there, but for the most part, his upside isn't as high, but he's more steady. You kind of know what you're going to get. You get kind of clocked in. He's one of those guys that clocks in and clocks out every day, and you kind of know what he can be. Right? But he can make the impact in other areas. Right? Be the dirty work guy, diving for loose balls, doing the dirty work. It's the first season that he's going to be fully healthy. Right? First season that we're going to get an offseason and a training camp and all that stuff with him to where he's going to be able to grow and develop things. I think he's a guy that could kind of continue to make an impact. Right? You go over his stats. Right? And again, this is with him being like the worst offensive player in basketball to like, what was it, like 30 games in or whatever. So keep that in mind when you're listening to these stats. So 72 games played, 11 games started, 21.2 minutes per game, 5.8 field goal attempts per game, 40% from the field, 35.3% from three-point range on 4.3 attempts. So on volume, he was 35.3% from three-point range. Now, that, 35%, you're like, it's really good because that shows how good he was towards the back end of the season because he was like 17% like 25 games in. He was like terrible. Like the first, and you look at like the first year, he was 11% on 2.5 attempts. Right? The idea was like, hey, can he get back to that 2021-2022 Gabe Vincent where he was nearly 37% on 4.8 attempts? He was pretty close. He would have been. It might have been his best shooting season if he shot like, or it would have been, not might have been, it would have been, had he shot like that, most of this, the 30 games where he did it and was like 10%, if he would have, in half of those games done it, he would have had his best shooting season of his career for the Lakers. So if he can be that, right, plus he's a locker room guy, plus he's a guy that can play in the playoffs to do all those things, right? You look at him in the playoffs, 5 games played, 19 minutes per game. He did drop down back to 31% on 2.6 attempts. So less attempts, right? Less usage. He got a total of 2.8 field goal attempts, and it was basically all from three-point range. So you essentially got 2 or 3 attempts per game, right? So was the drop in production due to him just not showing up, or was the drop in production due to him not getting the opportunities in the playoffs? Because, again, you look at his stats other years, got the opportunity, right? I mean, his numbers went down, his minutes, like all of it, right? So, and look, JJ Redick, we saw basically just no hope on any of the bench. Like, now, Gabe Vincent needs to do better regardless in the minutes he did, and, he was getting beat out. It was a mess, right? But if he can be somebody that can kind of step into that role that we all envisioned him having when we got him, then that changes everything for the Lakers, right? Like, now you have Gabe Vincent and a Marcus Smart that you can both deploy out there to be these defensive, just versatile guys. Like, that could go such a long way. Marcus Smart, because of his wingspan, you can slot at the 3. So you can have times where you have, a Luka Doncic, right, with a Gabe Vincent, Marcus Smart, Jared Vanderbilt, and a DeAndre Ayton out there, and have just these 3 just versatile defensive pieces that can go out there, defend multiple positions, do multiple things. Like I said, Gabe Vincent's more kind of the 1 or the 2. You don't really want him defending bigger 3s and stuff. But, also, again, it would probably help if he was fully healthy. Probably help if he could kind of, move the way that he's capable of moving. He's not this like hyper athlete or anything, but he's a guy that I do think could make some noise, could help the Lakers in several fronts, in several ways. But we'll see. Anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.